MotoGP's 2025 season has already been one of the most unpredictable and dramatic campaigns in recent memory. At the beginning of the year, many believed Marc Marquez would once again dominate the championship in his usual fashion, controlling the pace of the season and leaving rivals scrambling for second place. However, the Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring introduced a storyline that shifted the balance, reminding everyone that MotoGP is never as predictable as it seems. The Red Bull Ring has traditionally been a Ducati fortress, a circuit where their machine's raw power and stability on acceleration gave them an almost unfair advantage. Yet in 2025, it became the stage where Aprilia finally broke through, and where a rookie delivered a performance that unsettled even the most experienced champion. This race was not just another stop on the calendar. It was a turning point, one that forced Marc Marquez himself to admit that the pressure from a new generation is real. The weekend began with Marco Bezzecchi taking charge at the front of the field. For 19 laps, the Italian rider stunned the paddock by leading the race with authority. On a track where Aprilia had historically struggled, Bezzecchi set the pace with confidence, proving that the weaknesses of the past were beginning to fade. Even before the race, expectations for Aprilia were modest. Massimo Rivola, the chief executive officer of the team, had openly warned Bezzecchi not to expect too much at this venue. Since the beginning of their MotoGP project, Aprilia had always struggled at the Red Bull Ring, a circuit that highlights weaknesses in acceleration and grip. Yet Bezzecchi ignored those doubts. He decided not to ride defensively, but instead to push from the front, to test the limits of both himself and his machine. For nearly 20 laps, he did exactly that, controlling the race while keeping Marc Marquez at bay. But MotoGP is never kind for long. A small technical problem disrupted Bezzecchi's concentration. One minor mistake, carrying one gear too high into a corner, cost him a fraction of a second. It was not much, but against a predator like Marquez, it was enough. Marquez, sensing the opportunity, attacked without hesitation and moved ahead. Bezzecchi tried to respond, but the balance of power had shifted. From that point onward, his fight was not only with Marquez, but also with the riders charging from behind. Despite losing the lead, Bezzecchi's performance remained historic. Securing a podium finish at the Red Bull Ring was a major breakthrough. For Aprilia, it was the first time the manufacturer had ever reached the rostrum at this circuit, a symbol of how far they had come. For Bezzecchi, it was also personal validation. He was no longer just a rider fighting for occasional top 5 finishes. He was establishing himself as a consistent contender capable of challenging the best in the world. Yet while all eyes were on Marquez and Bezzecchi at the front, another story was building momentum just behind them. That story belonged to Fermin Aldeguer. The 20-year-old Spaniard, a rookie in MotoGP, had endured a disappointing start to the race. He slipped from 6th to 9th on the opening lap, a significant setback on a circuit famous for being difficult to overtake. Few expected him to recover, let alone to fight for the podium. But Aldeguer refused to accept defeat. With remarkable determination, he began carving his way through the field. Overtake after overtake, he clawed back positions until he was running inside the top 3. His performance was not just about aggression. It was about control, maturity, and strategy far beyond his years. What made Aldeguer's ride even more impressive was his tire management. Unlike many rookies who burned through their tires early in the race while trying to keep up, Aldeguer showed patience. He explained later that he deliberately avoided pushing too hard in the opening laps, saving grip for the critical final stages. This decision paid off spectacularly. In the last 8 laps, he was consistently faster than Marc Marquez, closing the gap with astonishing speed. At one point, he genuinely believed he could win the race, although he ultimately fell just over 1 second short. Finishing in second place, Aldeguer's ride sent a clear message. MotoGP's next great talent had arrived, and he was fearless enough to take the fight directly to an 8-time world champion. His words after the race reflected both his youthful ambition and his growing confidence. He admitted that when he passed Bezzecchi, he thought to himself that maybe a podium was not enough, that perhaps victory was possible. This kind of mindset is what separates ordinary rookies from future champions. The most striking part of the Austrian Grand Prix, however, came not from Aldeguer's words, but from Marc Marquez's. For the first time this season, Marquez admitted that he felt unsettled, even worried, about a rival. He revealed that he had not initially recognized Aldeguer when he saw someone closing in quickly from behind. But once he realized it was the rookie, his concern grew. What troubled him most was not just Aldeguer's outright pace, but the way he preserved his tires better than any other Ducati rider on the track. On a circuit notorious for destroying rear grip, that kind of advantage was a dangerous weapon. Marquez confessed that he had to change his strategy in the middle of the race. He realized he was using too much of his rear tire while battling with Bezzecchi, so he chose to ease off, breathe, and reset before attacking again in the closing stages. Without that adjustment, he admitted, Aldeguer could have caught him completely. Even so, the margin at the finish was razor-thin. Aldeguer's success is not just a reflection of talent, but also of natural instinct. His crew chief, Frankie Carcati, pointed out that while the team has guided him in areas like setup and race preparation, much of his tire management ability cannot be taught. It is something instinctive, a gift that sets him apart from other rookies. At just 20 years of age, he is already proving that he can handle the pressure of fighting a legend like Marquez, something very few riders have managed so early in their careers. Austria also highlighted the mental strain that comes with racing at the absolute limit. After the race, both Bezzecchi and Marquez admitted to making small mistakes during their duel because they were distracted by each other. Bezzecchi said he shifted at the wrong time because he was watching Marquez, while Marquez laughed and confessed that he had done the exact same thing when racing Francesco Bagnaia earlier in the season. These moments reveal that even the greatest riders are human, vulnerable to errors when caught in the heat of battle. Ultimately, Austria was more than just another victory for Marc Marquez. It was the first time he acknowledged being pushed to the edge by a rookie. Bezzecchi's podium marked Aprilia's historic progress, and Aldeguer's performance announced him as MotoGP's future. Together, they turned what might have been a routine race into one of the defining moments of the season. The implications extend beyond the championship standings. Ducati now faces a fascinating dilemma. They have a rookie in Aldeguer who is already capable of challenging their factory star, a development that could reshape the dynamics of the rider market for years to come. Meanwhile, Aprilia has broken one of its biggest curses by finally conquering the Red Bull Ring, proving that their machine is now competitive at every type of circuit. The 2025 season has delivered many surprises, but Austria may prove to be the most significant chapter so far. Marc Marquez still won, but this time there was a shadow in his mirrors, a reminder that dominance is never permanent. Marco Bezzecchi proved Aprilia's growth. Fermin Aldeguer proved he is not simply a fast rookie, but a genuine contender for the future. And Marc Marquez himself admitted he is worried. When Marc Marquez is worried, the entire MotoGP paddock should pay attention. Austria was not just another race on the calendar. It was the warning sign of a rivalry that could define the next era of MotoGP.